Hi, everyone. Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. And I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. I'm really glad you could join me today. And if you're listening to this show on iTunes or Podomatic, don't forget to check out Blog Talk Radio as well and check out an archive of shows going back almost 7 years. So, there's a lot to listen to there, in addition to iTunes and Podomatic. Also, you can come to the blog, womenentrepreneurssecrets.blogspot.com, and you can check out the bios of the show guests and articles, and also find out how to become a guest if you're interested in being on the show. Also, we're on Facebook, facebook.com/womenentrepreneurs. And my website, DeborahABailey.com, is a place you can go to find out more about me and my books. And also there's links there as well about the show. And, as well to find out about being a guest or doing submitting articles if you want to be on the blog. So different things you can do to participate, and I hope you will certainly do that, and also share this with your friends if you enjoy the show. Definitely don't keep that a secret as well. So my guest is returning guest, Kim Harris, the Chief Visionary Officer of the I Am Community Consulting and Training. So she's returning to talk about debt-free funding, leveraging other people's money in your business. And if you've listened to the previous show, if you haven't caught up with that, I'm going to suggest that you do so, talking about sponsors for live events, radio shows, and media promotions, because it was terrific, and you will learn a lot about how to get grants and such things for your project. So please make sure you listen to that show in addition to this one. And just sharing with you, Kim has 15 years of helping entrepreneurs and small business owners secure funding resources and establishing capacity building strategies, raising more than $2.5 million in sponsorships and grants from companies like American Airlines, Office Depot, JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, Starbucks, and many others. SBA Women in Business Champion of the Year Award recipient. So, she got some good cred there. So make sure you pay attention to what she has to share with you. And she's been featured in publications such as the Huffington Post, the Dallas Morning News, HERLIFE magazine, the Chicago Women magazine, Heart and Soul magazine, CBS Radio, Radio 1, and her own talk show, Dialogues with Kim, on UA Network. So welcome, Kim. Really glad to have you back.
I am awesome to be back. Let me just say, I'm really ready to delve into this one.
Yes. When we connected and I was, seeing all the many things that you, talk about and the things that you're doing. And, these topics really jumped out at me because they come up so much for people talking about how to, get money to do certain things in their business, and usually people don't really know what to do. They don't know the right thing to do. They're kind of led astray, if you will, by some people who don't know what to do, and they don't even have anything near your experience doing it. They don't really have that background, but people don't know. A lot of business owners have no idea how to do these things, and, they're busy with the credit cards trying to fund things, and they can lead you down a very bad road. So I thought these were just terrific topics, to really put out there from someone who knows what she's talking about. So before we get started on that, for those folks who haven't yet listened to the first show, you could just share a little bit about, the inspiration for you to start this business.
Yeah, when I started my business, it was really an evolution of my nonprofit work. And when I started my consulting company, it was just to expand upon the platform that was developed during my nonprofit service. And, I'm very passionate about serving other people, helping them to really expand their reach and their impact with what they do, which is why when it came to titles, I did not want to be chief officer, CEO, or anything like that. That was too corporate for me, and I'm so out of the box with that. So chief visionary officer seemed to be appropriate because as a visionary, I believe that I do have a special gift to help others to tap into the specifics or the strategics, if you will, to execute their vision of what they see in the work that they do and how they want to move and impact the world. So I'm always looking for solutions to problems and coming up with viable solutions that will not leave a wake of debt and struggle and strife, because we can't really serve when we're in that place. We can't really help other people if we are doing so from a place of lack and a place of need. We have to position ourselves to be in that place to serve with freedom, with the ability to move about in our business as freely as we can. And so it was really important and paramount to me when I started my business that remained the focus, that I was able to really bring something of value that would help others to serve and impact the world in a way that they couldn't see possible. And so I share a lot of information and knowledge on a lot of different platforms, across a lot of training platforms, including my own, in which I educate, because I do believe that we have to be educated in some things. And I'm going to tell you, business school just don't teach you everything. Okay, exactly. They don't teach you the practical day-to-day stuff that you go through, that only experience can teach you. And so, sometimes the book sense doesn't really match up with the experiential things that you have to experience in your business. And so, when I started serving from a nonprofit space, I learned very quickly that it was a very good feeling to leverage other people's money to do what I wanted to do. And it pains me to see individuals who have truly a gift of service in their business come out of pocket and spend their household income to support their business or to support their dreams. That is just not the way it was meant to be. And so, I went on my own quest as well to find ways in which I could operate and serve the world with what I wanted to do, and doing so leveraging other people's money. And there is a process involved, but the process is menial compared to pulling dollars out of the bank to supply a program or service that doesn't really give you the return on your investment that you were looking for. So using other people's money to do that is so much easier, and it's so much better for you in terms of your stress levels.
Yes, I guess so. Yes. Oh, true. I'm sure that every business owner listening knows exactly what you're saying.
Well, it's really no fun running a cash poor business. And I've been there. I mean, it's not, I don't come from this space of, I've got it all together. And no, I still, sometimes find myself, okay, I've got to come up with a solution to this and I've got to make this work, but I know the process and how to make it work and what things I can leverage in order to do that. And I've done so successfully, and that's why I'm here to share these strategies with your audience so that they can learn, too, how to take advantage of some of these strategies as well and get out of the position of running cash poor businesses because, again, the stress level's too high, and, my blood pressure was sky high when I was going through a couple of years ago. It was like, oh, my gosh, I got to pull this together, It's not worth it. And I wasn't impacting the world in the way that I thought that I could. And so it made all the difference in the world to find other means to leverage other people's money and do so in a way that that could help me to really move forward in my business and grow my business and expand it in a way that I'm experiencing. So it's important. It's really important.
Yes, it is, because that is a great deal of stress comes out of that. Just people just feeling like they're lost everything, or they take such a beating emotionally, mentally. You know, and with money in general, it has an effect on people and relationships and everything. And, you know, when they're out there wanting to put their dream together and really have a vision for something, but the money and not knowing how to put that together, that is a major thing that I think every business owner at some time or another is dealing with, has dealt with. You know, it's just part of what happens. Right. But, you know, what are the top 3 non-debt funding solutions?
The number 1 for me is factoring, accounts receivable leveraging. And there are a lot of businesses right now that, a lot of entrepreneurs that have coaching businesses, a lot of individuals that have in businesses where they actually invoice clients versus selling products and, let's say, one-off products that they can just sell online. A lot of times, you know, and here's the benefit of factoring or accounts receivable leveraging versus selling your one-on-one products. When you're doing your one-on-one products or your programs and things like that, there's a constant marketing effort that has to take place in order to continue to generate revenue from those sales or generate revenue from your list. With factoring, you have already business that you are, you know, getting clients paying you on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, or, you know, just on a pay schedule of some sort. So you generate that invoice, and that invoice sits until it's time to get paid on. Well, the benefits of using your invoices as money, I look at it as a collateral. Okay, so invoices, if I have $1,000 invoice that I haven't collected on, but I can't collect on it for the next 30 days, and I can leverage that. I can factor that invoice for $1,000 and possibly get about $975 face value of that invoice right now within 24 hours. And so accounts receivable leveraging is becoming it's been around forever. I mean, you know, car dealerships, finance companies have been using this since time began, I believe. You know, I mean, it's just been around forever. It's just now, I would say within the last 15 years, been trickling its way down into the entrepreneurial small business space. And so now more entrepreneurs are becoming aware, especially the coaching business or coaching practices, entrepreneurs that have coaching practices, they, you know, are able to leverage those invoices that they have scheduled out over 30, 60, or 90-day terms and get money within 24 hours on the face value of that. So that's my number 1 pick in terms of infusing cash into your business right away. If you're strapped, you don't have to wait until that invoice is paid. You can actually factor it and, you know, use the money to maybe, you know, buy new products or services or, you know, get new programs developed so that you could generate more income and get more one-on-one clients or mastermind clients. In this case, I have mastermind clients that pay me, you know, on a monthly basis that I invoice for on a monthly basis. And so when that invoice comes in, I could take those invoices and factor them to my factor and, you know, get a face value on that. So I love that. I love factoring. I absolutely love it.
Wow, that is interesting because it's something I've heard that term, but I'm thinking that's something that has to do with manufacturing and owning a gigantic company.
I know. Most people are like, okay, factoring, is that like algebra? No, it's not algebra, okay? It doesn't work anything like algebra.
Oh, no, going back to those math problems, huh?
Right.
That must be it, huh?
No, not like that, okay? So yeah, it's a little easier process than that, actually.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's really easy to do,
Mm-hmm.
and there are many factor type company or factoring companies out there that can help you. The wonderful thing that I love about factoring is that it's not a lending service. It's a discounted purchase on your invoice. And so you don't have to apply for any traditional lending. There's no credit checks and all that, all that. Now, what they will do is do due diligence on the credibility of your client. So, for example, if I have a client that pays me $1,000 a month, and I factor that invoice, when I factor it the first time, they're going to run a due diligence on that client to make sure that they're credit worthy and that invoice is going to be paid. What helps is if your invoices are paid regularly or, consistently based on the schedule that you've given to your client. And then that way, you don't have to worry about whether or not that invoice is going to be kicked back because the client didn't pay. And even though you don't lose anything, the factor does charge a factoring fee. It's nominal. It's like anywhere between 1% to 3.5%, depending on the amount of the invoice. And so it just, again, it just depends. But you can generally, when you factor invoices, you could do one invoice. You could do 10 invoices. It just depends on how much cash you are looking to infuse into your business. And they don't ask the question of, okay, what's the money going to be used for, or any of that. It's really your money, and you can use it at your discretion. And so I think that it's a great alternative to going to the bank, trying to get a loan, taking out more debt and putting your business under more financial strain, especially when, you have what I call collateral in the drawer on a piece of paper that says somebody's going to pay you in 30 days, It just makes it easier, and it takes a lot of the financial stress off.
Wow, that's so interesting. So I'm sure a lot of people who have those types of businesses don't realize what they've got, So that is really, I'm like, wow. I feel like, wow, I didn't have a clue.
Well, like I say, car companies, think about it. Have you ever purchased a vehicle or a home? Okay? Vehicle or a home. 6 months later, you get a notice from another bank that says, we've just purchased your loan. Now you'll be making your payments to us.
Right.
And I know everyone who has purchased a home or a car has seen that at one time or another.
Yeah.
Where there was a transfer of hands, okay? And this happens all the time. It happens all the time. Even on outstanding debts, those factors buy that debt, all right? And then they go to collect on that debt. And so it's something that is, like I said, been around forever. It's just now trickling its way down into that small business entrepreneurial space. I'm a certified cash flow consultant with the American Cash Flow Association, and I have been doing factoring invoices for like the last 5 years. So I help my clients get in touch with a factor. And once I make that connection, the factor communicates with the client directly. So everything is kept under wraps in terms of privacy and things like that. I'm outside of the transaction at that point. So, I just help people find factors that would match their niche and could give them the best bang for their buck in terms of their invoicing dollars. So it's, I love it because it's an easy transaction. It's an easy transaction, and they usually get their money within 24 to 48 hours.
Wow. And that also is very interesting to me because then I guess I looking at a lot of people who are out here with these really large coaching programs and mastermind groups and such, you really get the understanding of why that is very lucrative to have that type of thing in place.
Exactly. And
yeah.
you know what? And here's the thing with that business model on those coaching programs. The business model typically is to have this quote unquote huge program that spans over 12 months, and then the coach or the person who's selling the program sells the program in payment installments.
Yes.
And so they'll have maybe the first payment installment, after the first 2 classes, and then the second payment installment before the third one and the fourth one. See, what's happening, in my estimation, I think that's okay if you want to just collect the money quick and fast. But I also think that if there is a downturn or a down period in which the enrollment drops, there's nothing you can leverage, because everybody is paid for the program in advance of that slope. And now you have to either recreate another program to get them re-enrolled, or you have to find other ways to generate more income to make up for that dip. And if you do it, if you change the model just a little bit and invoice individuals to join your program, in other words, get them to sign a contract saying that they will go through this program for 12 months, that you will bill them, 30 days out until the program is paid up to the 12 month. But every time you collect the invoice for $2,500 or $1,500, some of those programs are like $1,500, $2,500 a month. Those masterminds. And so if it's a 6 months program and you are billing them out $1,500 to $2,500, every month, that's money you can leverage after the program ends for them, because I promise you, at the end of that 6 months, they're not going to pay you when they exit that program. They're going to wait that 30 days or 60 days or whatever it is your terms are in order to pay you. But now you've got all these invoices collected for that amount that you can factor and get paid on, and you don't have to wait. So this is a way to kind of tie yourself through that dip until you can create more products or services to sell in order to, bring in more revenue for your business. So this is, a strategy that I think is, superb in that respect. I mean, this is a great alternative to that.
Right. That's very true. It's very, very interesting, because it's things that you don't hear, let's say, the gurus tell you about.
Nobody's talking, okay?
No, nobody's talking about this.
Yeah.
And they obviously have to know. When at a certain level, they have to know about this or have to have been told about this.
Oh, yeah.
But there's things that the average person, at another end of that, may have never dreamed that they could also apply in their case, So I think that is just pretty fantastic, just for you to share that, because, like I said, there are things that people don't know and they're not getting told, and they really need to know how they can better, get the money that they need.
That's right.
And without going into so much awful debt, particularly, people going into credit card debt. I know I've done that.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. You don't know any better. So this is, really terrific stuff. So what are the other, solutions?
Well, one of my next favorite is crowdfunding campaigns. And you've probably have seen like scores of crowdfunding, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, CrowdRise, what's the other? There's a few other out there. There's hundreds of them out there, actually. Anyway, these crowdfunding platforms are really, in my estimation, they are a new spin on fundraising, but only electronically. And what's very interesting is there is a bill that I think just recently passed, or is going to pass, it was in September, that would allow crowdfunding investors or people that poured money into a crowdfunding idea for them to actually have a equity stake in the crowdfunding idea, which is great, because that means that if I invest $500 in a crowdfunding idea, I have instant equity into that new company. And there are some crowdfunding companies that have startups that have just gone to raise millions of dollars, to start their business or kickstart their business. But on a smaller scale, if someone just wanted to raise some quick cash for their project or their event or anything like that, they could do so through crowdfunding by starting a campaign on any of these platforms. Now, there are pros and cons to this. The pros are that you have this campaign, you can get this money and raise this money for whatever it is you need it for, and I would recommend, it be for a justifiable cause, not just because I need money in my business,
right?
A justifiable cause, or something in your program that you or in your business that you want to implement that you feel would be more impactful and have more benefit to the receiving person or entity. And so once you establish that, then you would create amounts in which people can invest in that idea or that event or whatever. And when you get people in your network to share in their networks your project or event, then they invest. The good thing about this is money that is coming directly into your business, and you can use it, to fund whatever the project or the event is that you're raising the money for. And so the campaigns usually, I recommend don't run a campaign longer than 30 days. Anything longer is just going to fizz out, and you're not going to raise. But there are strategies in which you have to do this effectively in order for it to be successful. So there are pre-launch periods, and then there's the launch period, and then there's a post-launch period. So there's a strategy in which you must execute a crowdfund campaign, but this is another great no-debt way to get money into your business for something that you feel would be a worthy cause or event. And so again, you're not taking a loan out, but you're getting your clients and your constituents, your tribe, your community to all support you through the campaign versus just, you're coming in and you borrowing money from them. And then you pay back. Okay. So we're talking about no debt solutions. So
Yeah, that's true, and they're very popular. I've donated to a few myself.
Well, that means they were pretty effective campaigns then.
Yeah, because I remember they had the Reading Rainbow one, I think maybe a year ago or so, and I think they raised like $5 million or some really insane number in such a short amount of time, and it was just so fascinating because you realize the power of a lot of people who were really interested in putting this out here and supporting it, and how they all came together and created this. It's seemingly overnight that this money was raised even more than was expected.
Right.
And, what I also think is interesting about that is that it kind of rewards people who may have something that is looked at as being a niche. Because maybe the media powers that be don't see a value in Reading Rainbow, but a whole bunch of people did.
Exactly. And it left a very powerful message out there. And I think that whole campaign really was what launched the insight into maybe having donors become equity stakeholders in campaigns. I've seen campaigns as recently as the last 6 months on some of the platforms that start out with like $2,500 investment, but that investment will buy you certain shares in the startup and when it went public and things like this. And I, again, I follow these trends often because, I mean, these are ways that in which my clients can most benefit from leveraging other people's money to accomplish their goals. And so if someone comes to me, if a client comes to me and says, you know, I want to start a crowdfunding campaign for a mentoring program, then we establish what that program is. You have to be very descriptive. Videos always help. And then you have to give them levels in which they can invest and have various benefits to being included into your program. So this is a great way to do it, again, quickly. Again, I don't recommend running a crowdfunding campaign more than 30 days, but some people run in 45 and 60 days. I've never seen much success after 30 days.
Just kind of have a really tight deadline to, really get it going and what you need. Yeah, I think doing the equity part, that is very interesting, because I would think that's really going to make people even more likely to contribute, because they can really see that they have a part of what's going on. It's not just when it's over, okay, whatever gift that you may get from it. A lot of times you may just be doing it because you believe in it, necessarily achieving care, about getting X, Y, or Z. For some people that's not even as important.
Well, in that startup space, this is a great way to do a startup and to get startup capital to start your company. I mean, there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that have legitimate startups that are truly going through that IPO route. They're on that path. They want to launch their business. They want to raise a certain amount of capital and, to show investors that they have what it takes and the market is ready for them. And once the market is ready for them and they raise that capital, it's easier for them to launch and then, do their IPO. So this is a great way for them to do that. Crowdfunding is a way to have proof of social acceptance.
Yes, that's true. That's really a good point. And like I said, we were talking here, like I said, I think it's very important that, it shows that there's interest in all these different things that may not be necessarily considered mass, it doesn't have to be something that every single person wants to be a part of, but you can have enough of a concentrated group of people who are willing to put their money
exactly
where their mouth is and say, yes, we want this. And, I think that really changes the game too, because in a lot of ways, so much is geared to someone creating a company or a thing that appeals to the masses, and everyone must want this and love this, and it must be in every store. Whereby maybe you've got that thing that has these people who love it and have to have it. They have the money to fund it and to pay for it, but it may not be most people.
That's right. I think, recently I've had a couple of inquiries for crowdfunding campaigns that would be inclusive of collaborative conferences. And this is something that I believe women could really leverage with all the different types of conferences that are going on that women are hosting and things like that. And this, in my opinion, takes the stress off of your ticket sales. Doing a pre-launch and then a launch on a collaborative conferences using tickets as one of the items to invest, for your funder to invest in. That would take the pressure off of your ticket sales. You don't have to worry so much about how many tickets did we sell this week and how many are we going to sell next week, or how many did you sell, and all of that, because you're now collecting getting people to buy your tickets through the campaign. The campaign gives you social relevance. The campaign also gives you momentum in terms of your ticket sales, because I think one of the problems with a lot of the conferences is that people don't pick up on ticket sales until the last 30 days before the event itself. And generally, you got 45 to 50% of the individuals that intend to come to the conference waiting until the day of or the day before to buy their ticket.
Wow.
So with a campaign, with a crowdfunding campaign, you have a specific period in which you can purchase your ticket for that conference, and anybody who's interested in being a part of it has to respond within that time frame. It's and then after it shuts down, that's it. It's over.
Right.
You understand? And then the price significantly will increase at the door if they're going to sell tickets at the door. But that's a strategy that very few, handful, I could, count maybe 2 or 3 that have taken advantage of that platform for collaborative conferences.
Wow. It seems like that would be something they would want to consider, because it is hard, people trying to get these things going and then trying to get the people to actually make the commitment is not an easy thing. So I could see this could be really ideal for that kind of thing also.
That's right.
So what is your third?
Well, third would be business grants for for-profit businesses. That's a little harder to come by because for business grants, generally you have to go through sources or resources like the SBA, or maybe sometimes you have local entities or businesses that have grants, discretionary grants that they will give to your business, depending on where you live and what you do. But that's another alternative. SBA has a great program, or has great programs. There's a grant that they have called Prime. And let me just give you a little bit of information on that one, because they just awarded $5 million across various communities across the U.S. For capacity building grants for entrepreneurs, specifically for small businesses or entrepreneurs. And this is, like new within the last 3 years. They used to wouldn't give business grants like this in this amount. So these grants ranged anywhere from $75,000. I think the lowest was like $30,000, but anywhere from $30,000 to $150,000 per recipient. And so, that can make a significant difference in your business to get a grant like that if you're an entrepreneur and you match the criteria. To parallel with that, if you're a women-owned business, it is very, very easy to apply for grants within your local jurisdiction if you're WOSB certified, Women-Owned Small Business certified. So if you own your business as a woman, and you're 51% owned, woman-owned business, then you can get your business certified with the SBA, get in their database, and qualify for some of the requests for proposals that are coming through the government for your local or even sometimes national jurisdiction. It just depends. But once you're in that database, you'll start getting RFPs or requests for proposals, and you can submit. You simply apply for the grant using whatever forms that they submit that they have available, or you submit a statement of capability, which is kind of like a resume, if you will, for your business and what you're capable of doing, and the key players or stakeholders that are within your business, and see if you qualify for that. Now, like I said, anytime you deal with the government, it's always going to be a little bit trickier, and it's always going to be a little bit more difficult to get the money. But if you're willing to go through that process and go through the certification process, it is worth it, because one grant will put your business on the map. Right now, my business is being positioned. I'm affiliated with the local SBA chapter here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and my business is being positioned to receive grants because I am certified as a woman-owned small business, and so I next year will be in a position to receive some of the bids that come through for women-owned business. And with President Obama recently signing into law this distribution, if you will, of fund, leveling the playing field, if you will, that more women businesses will receive those set-asides. And so, I mean, there's, gosh, I forget the exact number. I should have probably wrote this down, but the exact number is not at the top of my head right now. But there are billions of dollars in set-asides for women-owned businesses. And we weren't getting the contracts that, you know, we qualified for. So he leveled the playing field and signed into law that we are now more able to get more of those set-asides, more grant opportunities, more funding opportunities. And so I recommend highly that any woman-owned business become certified as a minority business or a woman-owned business, and get in the throw your hat in the ring, if you will, and go for the money, because it's out there. There's plenty of it, and your local SBA will help you through that process.
So as far as qualifying, is it like how long would that process take? You know, in general.
Okay, so to certify your business, some people can some people prefer self-certifying. The SBA will allow you to do that. However, from a credibility standpoint, it's always good to go with whatever local entities. Now, the SBA has designated or registered entities that you must certify through. And the fee is usually like $350. I don't think any more than that. But once you go through that process of certification, then you are in the SBA database as well as the government's database. And once you get in those databases, then you will get bids for grants or bids for performance of some sort. And so it just depends. Now, the process itself takes about 3 weeks to go through the entire process of certification. But once you become certified, again, you don't have to do this but once a year to stay active in the database. But if you want to get assistance with maybe becoming what they call 8A qualified, or which is a program that they have, or Hub Zone, which is a historically underutilized business zone. Once you become a Hub Zone recipient, then you qualify for that level of funding as well. But that's, like I said, anytime you're dealing with the government, there's going to be a process. And if you're not ready for that process, then I would suggest just tabling it for later, and don't look at it as a quick cash kind of alternative. It will take some time to get into the database and to become qualified for some of the funding that's available, but it's there, and I think that it's a good option for women business owners to look into.
Can women business owners, in particular, is that a process that they should start early when they start a business, or that's something that should come later once they're actually,
No, they can start as soon as they start their business. Yeah, they can start as soon as because they have to go through all the filing processes anyway. Just make sure you're a bona fide business. I mean, you go through the DBA, you've got your DUNS number, you've got your EIN, all that established, and you are a bona fide business. And once you become that, then you can start the process of becoming WOSB or minority business enterprise certified. They even have, I believe there's a category, small disadvantaged business, economically disadvantaged businesses. And so, if you're under a certain threshold, if your area is under where your business is located is under a certain threshold, then you qualify for, that kind of funding as well. I mean, there's just so many opportunities available. But again, people don't really want to go through that whole process. It's too time consuming or it's too much work. But I promise you, if you do and position your business to receive these funds, to receive this level of set-asides, one will basically put your business on the map. And so, like I said, I just started the process last year of I made a decision after, my business was already started and well in bloom. I said, you know what, I need to position my business to receive some of this other funding because
Mm-hmm.
this is something that I'm kind of like leaving money on the table when it comes to the
Right.
government, and I don't want to do that. And so I just decided that, you know, it was time for me to start getting positioned. I went to my SBA and said, look, this is what I want to do. And so they said, okay, here's where we're going to help you to develop your plan to get there, you know, because it is a process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, or, you know, when, you know, someone listening may wonder if this is something that they can do, does it depend on the type of business that you have?
No.
I mean,
No,
okay.
no, not at all. Not at all. Then whatever business you have, you can become WOSB certified or minority business certified or small disadvantaged business certified or veterans. You know, there's different categories, but they'll tell you. Like I said, I mean, it's something that's worth looking into. You can go to SBA.gov, and SBA.gov has a great database of information that you can look at in terms of becoming certified and qualifying your business.
And, you know, when we're talking about positioning a business to receive funding support, you know, what are some things you suggest for people who need to do that?
Well, positioning your business to receive funding would be, for example, making sure that you're fiscally responsible. Making sure your filings are done. If you're a nonprofit, making sure your 990s are filed on time. If you're a for-profit, making sure that your quarterlies are done on time and that you have it set up and established correctly. Making sure that your year-end tax returns are certified. I believe that certification, you go to a CPA. If you have a CPA or a bookkeeper that handles your books or your finances, it's important to have them to certify the documents that they review at the end of the year in filing your taxes. That just makes it stronger, and your credibility is, skyrockets. So that's a very, very, very key point. And, basically positioning is about the financial aspect of your company. It's not about how much money you make, but rather how you manage it. So you want to make sure your books are in order. Make sure that you can account for every dollar and, have receipts and things like that. But that's what that certification does on your documents. That certification says everything has been verified and there's no need for audit. So you'll want to make sure that your state doesn't require you to pay sales tax on certain things. If you do, you want to make sure that you follow those regulations. And just your programs. Are your programs being evaluated? This is one positioning rule that is a must, absolute must. I don't care if you're for-profit or nonprofit. If you're not evaluating your programs or your business, then you're missing out. You're really putting yourself in a very weak position. You've got to be able to demonstrate that what you do matters. And so you might want to start by creating some milestones, and then benchmarking them and making sure that you're on track. What are your goals and objectives for each of these tasks? What are you trying to accomplish in your programs? Who is benefiting and how are they benefiting, and what kind of social proof do you have? These are all ways to evaluate your real success. And when you do that, then you're able to put your business in a stronger position, because now you have documentation that says that you're not only doing a great job, but that your business is viable and it's strong and it's growing. And so that makes all the difference in the world.
Exactly. And those are excellent points, because I don't think that a lot of times entrepreneurs really are thinking about these nuts and bolts.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. You are so right. We're so, it's interesting. We're so caught up in, okay, where's the next sale coming from? How do we make more products? And we're forgetting about all of the operational things that must happen in our business, or we're not considering them operational things, and the importance, or weighing the importance of them as an operational thing. And so a lot of times things fall through the cracks. And because we don't have a real system in place, my recommendation for any business, no matter what size you are, is to have what I call a standard operating procedure manual. And in that standard operating procedural manual, you're going to outline everything that should be done on a day-to-day basis to keep your business running efficiently. And, I mean, get as minute as you possibly can in each of the categories so that you can develop a process for them. Okay? Because that process is what you're going to eventually transfer to somebody or delegate to somebody later down the road. Even though you might be wearing a million hats as an entrepreneur, at some point you want to get to the point where you grow, right? And you want to get to a point where you can delegate and hire or outsource some of the work that's being done. Well, having a standard operating procedure manual will help you to do that effectively, and then this ensures that you don't miss anything in the transfer process. So, that's kind of a key thing. Even, I'm not, it doesn't have to be formal. I mean, it just be a little outline, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just an outline of things that you do every day for your business. And then turning that into a process. What is what do you do when you get a check? Do you deposit it into the bank? Well, what do you do before you, how do you, do you verify the funds? What do you do? What is it that you do with that check? And so having those kinds of things outlined and detailed in such a way that helps not only you to know what your business is doing, but also help other people understand that there's a process to doing business, period, with you. Yeah.
True. And that makes a lot of sense for people who may not be sure how they should be documenting these things. If they write down what they're doing, how they're doing it, what the purpose is. And, even if they have someone to come and help them, at least now they have something there, whether they hire someone or they just, starting out an intern or a spouse or whoever, something's written down so that this is how we do things and you have a regular system for getting them done.
Right.
That's not so haphazard, because then when that happens, you don't know what's going on. And then
and here's the thing. I mean, if we go back to, the conversation we had earlier about sponsorships and grants, we talked about positioning. This shows your sponsors or your grantors that you have your stuff together, that you are a viable business, that you have processes in place to execute the plans and actions that you've set for yourself. And so that puts you in a place of position to get their money. Nothing, is worse than them finding out that you're not strong and you're not able to deliver. You know what I mean? That just does nothing for you, or them. And so, when you have evidence that you do have these things lined up and in place, it does makes for a stronger case. And and that's really what you're trying to do when you're trying to go after that kind of money. But from a debt-free standpoint, also, you want to stay debt-free, and so you want to be in a position to always be strong, and that keeps you in, organization always keeps you in a position of strength. So that's something that, should be done, even if you're starting out or you've been in business for a while and never took the time to do it. Just sit down. Take an evening to just sit down and think about all the things that you do to make your business operate, and then create a process for it.
Exactly. Just even as you said, it was just an outline. It's something that in writing that can help provide some guidance about what you have to do. And, also, we were talking about the previous conversation. If someone is saying, I really would like to have some kind of program or workshops for people, and I'm not really sure how to put that together, would a person have to already either have a nonprofit business or, already created before they could reach out for that type of grant money?
Well, it's a good idea to have an idea of what kind of program you want to ask the money, ask for the money for. And where I can assist you is getting clear on what that looks like. And sometimes it's a good idea to just sketch it out first and then flush it out and see if it makes sense. Because again, we can't go to a funder, any funder, asking for money for something that's not clear.
Right.
It just won't.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can't do that. So, where I come in is I help you to get clear on what it is that you want to do, and then we discuss how we can make that happen, and outlining it and putting it in a way that shows what the value of it is to the funder first, and then what the value of it will be to the benefactor, whoever the recipients of that service or product is going to be, and then finally yourself. What's the value of it for you in terms of your business outcomes? And so when I work with you, I go through that process, and I always go through the process of how are we going to measure it? How are we going to evaluate it? What are some of the things that we're going to look for in terms of real impact? What are some of the data we're going to collect in order to be able to measure it? And so creating that evaluation process is absolutely paramount to submitting, that request. You can't submit a request without an evaluation process. They don't want to figure it out. They want you to figure it out and know when you present your proposal that you already have established what the impact and return on investment is going to be for them.
And so let's say if someone, has a business, but they want possibly to do workshops, let's say. They want to do something for women who want to go into business, or they want to do something for young girls or whatever, and they're like, wow, I really would like to pull this type of thing together. Would they have to have already established a nonprofit as well? Like, say, if they want to fund their workshop or some kind of live event.
Okay, so if it's a grant, yes.
Yeah.
They will have to become a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and they will have to be established with the letter of determination from the IRS. However, for sponsorship, no. They do not have to be a nonprofit organization, but they do have to be a established business entity of some sort, whether it's sole proprietor or whether it's partnership or LLC or, however they have filed and received their EIN or filing, their tax returns. They have to be established to get that kind of support. The only way that they you don't need that level of credibility is if you go through a crowdfunding type source. Yeah, crowdfunding doesn't require you to be an established entity. You can be an individual and just, get establish a crowdfunding campaign. But for those other entities, you must have be established as a business entity.
And the good thing is, depending on what it is that someone may want to do, if they're doing it from a nonprofit standpoint or they're for-profit and they're looking for sponsors, there's a lot of options here for someone to go through. It's not just one way, I can't do it because, I don't have a nonprofit, or I can't do it because I don't have a for-profit. There are options here for people to get funding for the various things that they have in mind that they want to put out there. And I think for the people listening, just for them to understand, there's a distinction, and there are options on either side.
Right.
It's not like, well, I can't do this because I'm not a gigantic corporation or whatever it is you may be thinking that you can't do. It's really not that at all. It's really kind of having things together and positioned properly. Really
Just be an established entity, establish yourself as a viable business. That's it. You go through the process anyway. We have so many online entrepreneurs that are not established as businesses, but they fall under the umbrella of an entrepreneur. So just because you put yourself in that category, if you're not established as a business, you're not a business. You're just a person out there making money online, and just, establishing yourself as an entity, but not a business entity. So to be a viable business entity, you must file get an EIN, file your formal papers with your local jurisdiction as a DBA. You must, if you're a nonprofit, you must file your 1023 with the IRS and receive a letter of determination establishing that status. And as a business, as a for-profit business, you just simply must have a bank account with a business name on it. And it helps to have a DUNS number to separate your personal credit from your business credit.
And that's done in Bradstreet.
Yeah, and I think the website is D as in David, N as in Nancy, and B as in boy.com.
Because I think that's also something that a lot of business owners, just starting out or even established ones may not even realize.
Yeah.
That that's something that they can and should do.
Should do it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think I heard more about that some years ago when I was first interacting with a lot of business owners. They had a local business women's group here in New Jersey, and I'd heard more about that at that time. But as you're saying, with the internet and more people calling themselves businesses, and more gurus telling you how to have a business and how you think the thoughts and you have a business. A lot of that got lost in the information that people really need to know. You don't hear about that as much in general, and the things that people really can get something from and help them to establish themselves. I don't really see that conversation happening as much as it used to.
Right.
What you were saying about people positioning themselves, I think that is really so important for listeners to get, because as you mentioned, so many people out here on the internet, and suddenly they're a business owner, they say, or they are now telling you how to have a business, they're telling you this, that, and the other thing, and they're not really talking about positioning and really documenting what you're doing and all that kind of good stuff that you'll need to do.
Like I said, the internet is being just inundated with new people, and you got to think of why is this happening? What's going on around us that's causing this influx of all these new businesses online? Well, just look at that, 20 years ago, you didn't think that there was going to be an internet. We just thought that, this was a great thing to have fun on. But now people are making money. People are leaving their jobs to become what, to achieve the American dream of having your own business. But there are processes to this thing. And those who are really ready for the game that they're about to play with entrepreneurialism and small business ownership understand that this process means there's going to be some requirements of them, that in order to reap the real benefits of being a small business owner and making a real impact as a small business owner, you're going to have to file, you're going to have to be transparent with your, reporting in terms of, whether you're, if you're a for-profit, then filing your 941s quarterly or however, frequently you're going to pay your taxes, and at the end of the year, making sure that your business Schedule C is filed properly, or your, whatever business form you're required to file. You're going to, have to be clear about that. And then, of course, as a nonprofit, your 990s have to be filed, even though, your threshold may be under that $25,000 or $50,000, I believe it is now. You still have to file. You still have to, make sure that you are, fiscally responsible. The Dun & Bradstreet number, like I mentioned, is very important because it keeps your personal credit separate from your business credit. And as you grow your business, your business credit is going to become more increasingly important. And so you'll want to make sure that your personal credit is not impacted by your business credit and vice versa. So, how do you go about doing that? There are, entities that can help you. The SBA is a great resource, and I'm not just saying that because I'm an SBA recipient either. I mean, they are a great resource in terms of getting your business positioned to be successful. And that success really comes from, building a client base, marketing, all of these elements. And it's not just online marketing. I mean, it's not just that. I mean, even the successful online marketers have a scalability plan. And they have requirements as well. Some states require you to pay taxes on internet transactions. How many internet entrepreneurs know that? You know what I mean? Ask the question, because I'm telling you, if you have a requirement and you're not paying, you're going to see some real stiff bills come through the mail really quickly. I really am not a big fan of serial entrepreneurs. I hear that phrase all the time, and I'm just not a big fan of it because it doesn't speak stability to me. It's like job hopping, and I'm just about it, but if you're going to be a guru, if you're going to be an expert in a specific area, then be that. Don't be the serial entrepreneur, because again, it doesn't speak to stability to me and the market at large. Because that just says, I just, whatever way the wind blows, that's what I'm going to do. And, or I'll do this and I'll be successful, and I'll drop it and I'll do something else and I'll be successful, or not. And so it's very important, I think, to continue to strive for the stability that you would strive for if you were a brick and mortar position, a brick and mortar business. The neighborhood store that's been there for 30 years, or 40 years or whatever, but growing exponentially online and doing so effectively and having strategies in place to make sure that happens. I mean, how many entrepreneurs do you know that have a scalability plan, a capacity growth plan? I mean, really. And it's not a business. It's not just the business plan. I mean, I get people to say, well, I got a business plan. Okay, that's great. Well, what's your capacity growth plan? What's your funds development plan?
Exactly. Yeah, those are things that people really don't know about, or haven't, really been working on, or whatever the reason is, or they don't even know that they should have one because they've got people telling them they don't need to do that.
Yeah.
They just need to have a website and they're in business.
Right.
And if you're just, doing your thing on Etsy or whatever it is that you're doing and that's it, well, yeah, you still probably have to know about some things like taxes and accounting and all that. But you can't say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm all this and that, and I don't even know the most basic things that I should know.
Man, I hear some serious horror stories about entrepreneurs who have set up shop online, raked in the money, right? But didn't understand their fiscal responsibilities and got hit with serious tax bills. You see, and that's so important to know, because once the money starts rolling in, which we all hope and expect that it will, if I'm not filing my taxes properly, then I'm setting myself up for failure here.
Exactly.
And I've seen some entrepreneurs that have done that. They made the big bucks. They got the thousands and thousands of dollars a week or day or whatever it is, and at the end of the year got hit with a serious tax bill.
Right, because they didn't really know.
Right, they didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? I mean, a tax bill for $2.5 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's no joke.
That is no joke, okay? You could pass out from a heart attack on that one because
oh my God,
that is serious.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, so learning, that's a hard lesson learned. I mean, so why not educate yourself on the processes of what that means in terms of that level of success, if that's the level of success you're striving for.
Exactly.
Yeah. Learn how to position your business for success, not failure, not failure.
Exactly. That's so important the way you put that, because those are, as we're saying, those are things that people aren't hearing as much right now anyway.
Right.
Those the kinds of things I don't see out there. So if I was just coming into it now, you really don't know what you don't know. As you mentioned, or people don't realize there's so many aspects to it until they find out later. And unfortunately, something like that happens when they're owing a lot of money.
Right.
Or they're trying to get funding and find they have nothing really put together to even show that they're serious about this. There's a lot of things that can go wrong just because you don't realize what you have to have in place.
Yeah.
So, that's really, what listeners can get out of this, how they can kind of go back and put these things in place and put them together. And then they'll be in a much better shape to go out there and get the kind of funding that they can use to, put their businesses and their ideas and, all the workshops and different things you may want to do. There's a way to get that done. But first, the foundation has to be in place.
Yeah.
So,
I think a lot of, the fallacy is this, in my estimation, is that having your own business is easy. It is not easy.
Great.
You work 10 times harder than you would ever work for someone else.
Very true.
But the payoff is that if you really do it right, you won't ever have to worry about working for someone else again.
Right.
And so, that's the trade-off. But you have to educate yourself in that process, and it is ongoing education. It's nonstop. You always have to stay apprised and abreast of what your fiscal responsibilities are, what your company is doing in terms of impact. These are things that require your attention on a regular basis, not just a one-time shot, Annie, and forget about it. You've got to be diligent with making sure that you are always in a position of growth, and that growth means more responsibility in terms of your financial and fiscal responsibilities for taxes and things of that nature. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a big takeaway for those of you who are listening to this show. So why don't you share with everyone where they can find you and learn more about your program?
Excellent. Okay, so you can go to my website and visit and learn more about what's available. But there's also a free giveaway there, and it's at www.iam-community.com. You can find me on Facebook at MSK Harris, Miss K. Harris. There's a gazillion Kim Harrises out there. You'll never find me. So Miss K. Harris on Facebook, on Twitter, and also on Instagram, and G+. So you can join me there as well. And I always share information on my website and always on my Facebook fan page at 501c3 Training. That is specifically for nonprofits. I post grants that are available and other information concerning the nonprofit sector there. But for the for-profit sector, if you're interested in a private consult with me, you can go to bit.ly/VIP consult, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you about your plans and what your capacity growth strategy might be, and we can move forward from there.
Fantastic. That's great. There's so many different ways that people can learn more, and they can also work with you. So I think that's wonderful, Tim. And, we're wrapping up now. Any final thoughts on what we just said?
Well, as far as the debt-free funding solutions, there are those available to you, factoring, crowdfunding, collaborative things that you can do to get your grant if you wanted to for a for-profit business. However, the key takeaway here is to make sure that you're in a position to receive the money that you're asking for or looking to get. Be a business. Be a real viable business, and you won't have any problem gaining the support that you need.
Fantastic. Those are that's excellent advice. So thanks again, Kim, for joining me again with this very, very good topic, because it's not what people are hearing now, and they need to know what they can do to build their businesses and also their nonprofits as well. So I want to thank you for joining me again. It's been a really great conversation.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
And everyone, I know you enjoyed it, so please share this with your friends, of course, on iTunes, Podomatic, or you can go to Blog Talk Radio and listen to an archive of shows going back almost 7 years. And it's Women Entrepreneurs Radio. And I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. I'm really glad you could join me, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye now.